Welcome to the Seriously podcast. I'm your host, Annaliese Gann. Now let's get into it. Welcome to the Seriously podcast, where we make light of serious conversations with really interesting people. Jade Mead is a well-known online fitness coach and mother who uses social media to empower and change the lives of women globally. After years of competing in high-level bodybuilding and winning national competitions, Jade naturally transitioned into influencing and now has over 96,000 followers on Instagram. And she's also managed by celeb manager Blue Chip. I was so excited to get Jade in the studio today as so many of you requested her, so I sent her a DM and the rest is history. I hope you love this one-on-one chat with Jade Mead. Here she is. Jade Mead, welcome to Seriously.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honour.
Thanks for being here. I finally got you in the studio because I put out my feelers to the viewers and I was like, who do you want on? And a lot of people said Jade Mead.
Oh, that's I'm surprised, but it's an honour. It's nice to know that so many people recommended me to come on. This is my first ever podcast, so yeah, a little bit daunting.
Exclusive, you heard it here first. Now, can we start with bodybuilding? You're an ex-national bodybuilding champion. What got you into the sport?
So I was always into fitness. Like fitness was always kind of, a part of my life. When I was at school, I used to love doing athletics. I've always kind of been like an athletic type of person. But yeah, I started going to the gym actually when I met my husband. I was only like 20 at the time. Joined the gym with him and just kind of really got into my training. And there was like a few posters up on the wall advertising bodybuilding shows, and I would kind of look at them and just like it kind of, piqued my interest, but I didn't think much of it. And then, funnily enough, we were at a party one night, like a fancy dress party, and I met a girl there who was a bodybuilder. She was like a full-blown, muscly bodybuilder, and she said to me, "You've got like the physique for bodybuilding, you should do it." And I was like, "Oh, I've thought about it, but I don't know." And it just so happened that there was a show on the next day, so she said to me, "You should come and check it out and just kind of get a feel for it and see what you think." So, yeah, the next day, me and my husband went and watched it, and I just instantly was like, I feel like I could do this. Like, it looks really cool. So literally straight away I started training for my first one, which was a few months later. And yeah, that was kind of what started it all, and I ended up doing it for I think maybe 5 or 6 years on and off. But yeah, I loved it. It's a part of my life that like seems so long ago now, but it is such a big thing I did and kind of what started my whole online career, I guess you would say. So yeah, but it feels like a lifetime ago now.
That's amazing. And you've won a lot of competitions or placed. Can you name some of the high-level comps that you've been involved with?
Probably the highest one was, I can't even remember the year it was now because it was such a long time ago, but I won the WA state, it was called sports model back then, what is now bikini. The bikini category was called sports model back then. So I won the Perth show, which then qualified me to go to the Australian Nationals, which was in Darwin, and I'd never been to Darwin before. So my husband and I decided to go, got like a few sponsors to help pay for me to go, which was like my first ever sponsorship, I guess you would call it. So we went to Darwin, first time ever, didn't know anyone, didn't know anything about it, and jumped in the show and ended up winning that as well. So that was like a national title that I won. So that was probably the coolest thing I won. Another huge thing I did, which is like a thing I'll never forget and like a bucket list thing, was I competed at the Arnold Classic in Australia, which was in Melbourne, and I met Arnold Schwarzenegger and stood on stage with him, and
wow,
that was a really cool moment. So having photos with him, kind of that went a little bit viral and was like a cool moment just to say that I've stood next to him and met him. So that was a really cool experience as well.
Incredible. And can I ask, when you say you had the body type for bodybuilding, what does that actually mean? Like, what constitutes the right figure?
So obviously there's different categories, and I started off with what you would call the entry-level category, so requires the least amount of muscle, even though I was quite muscular but not like huge. So obviously you just need to have a muscular physique, you need to have visible muscle definition, and then depending on the categories you need to be leaner and more muscular, but the bikini category is kind of more of a softer look, but you still need to obviously have visible muscle, so glutes and shoulders is kind of the main things they look for, and then as you get into the more heavier categories you have to have like full-on abs and big muscles, but that wasn't something I did.
So you did mainly bikini.
Mainly bikini, and then the last year I competed, I moved up to the next category, which was called figure, which does require a bit more muscle and a bit more leanness. And then I ended up not competing after that. So that was the last one I did. So, yeah, mainly the bikini category, and then I did 1 year of figure, and then that was it. I stopped.
Wow. Well, I definitely couldn't do it then. I have such a high percentage of body fat.
I do now too, so don't worry. It requires a huge level of leanness, which is not kind of, maintainable all year round or...
Exactly. It's a very extreme sport, and that leads into my next question. How hard is it being an elite athlete and competing at that level? Because mentally, physically, emotionally, a lot of bodybuilders open up and they're like, this isn't healthy.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yes, definitely. A lot of the things I went through when I was competing and, different diets I followed and coaches I had at the time, it definitely wasn't healthy. And thankfully, in today's kind of day and age, it's come a long way and it is a lot healthier and you can do it in a much healthier way. I still wouldn't say it's healthy because it is an extreme level that you have to get to, but you're only doing it for that day and then you kind of go back to a healthy range sort of thing. That's why I say it's not maintainable all year round to be that level of leanness. But yeah, definitely not. It wasn't healthy back then. And yeah, some of the diets I followed were shocking. And that's why I was so passionate about then becoming a coach myself and then being able to help women do it in as healthy a way as possible because, from my experience, I didn't have good experiences. And, after the show, if you don't have the proper care and follow a proper reverse diet, that's when you can blow out and gain heaps of body fat, which is very common. And that is something that happened to me. And I guess that's kind of what put me off doing it again. But yeah, so that's the main focus that I do with clients now is doing it in the healthiest way possible and making sure that the aftercare is there when they finish so that they can reverse diet properly out of it and, not gain a whole heap of weight because obviously that really plays with your mind. And yeah, when it comes to competing, the mental side of it would have to be the hardest aspect. Like obviously you can stick to a training program, you can stick to a diet, but it's the mental side of it, like actually sticking to it and, following it through. It's a huge thing and it is hard. That's why, you can only do it for so long.
Yeah, 100%. Well, so you were an elite athlete, bodybuilder, and then you naturally transitioned into online coaching. How did that happen?
So when I was competing, I was a PT. So
Okay.
yeah, so I was working in a gym as a face-to-face PT. I did that for quite a few years actually, and then I just naturally started doing online coaching as well as face-to-face. I guess because my following had grown, and obviously my followers were into fitness because that was my niche at the time. I just kind of naturally started getting online clients and doing a bit of both. And then when I had my daughter in 2019, that was when I transitioned to doing all online so that I didn't obviously have to be away from her and be going to the gym. So yeah, that's kind of where it all took off in terms of being solely online was when I had her at the end of 2019. So it kind of just naturally transitioned that way and it was really good timing because of COVID as well. So yeah, it just kind of worked out well, I guess.
And you're an influencer. You've got over 96,000 Instagram followers and over 25,000 on Facebook. And you coach globally. So can you open up a bit about that as well? Like obviously you're an online coach, now you're an influencer. Did that happen quite naturally? And like what would you say some of the pros and cons of being an influencer are?
Yeah, it's a funny one. Like you never kind of like to think of yourself as that word, but I guess that is what you call yourself. But the influencing side of things just literally happened so naturally. I guess that just comes with having a following. And that's the thing. My following started off from being, doing bodybuilding and fitness, and that was how it all grew initially. And then it naturally just kind of progressed as my life changed. And obviously I became a mum and obviously I'm still into fitness, but, I've been through so many different stages of my life now and my followers have kind of come along on that journey and my page has definitely changed during that time. And it kind of just naturally happened. I guess brands reach out to you and want to work with you. And I'd say I only started influencing and taking that side of it seriously probably from about 2017, 18 onwards. It's just kind of naturally progressed from there. And yeah, it's good. It's like obviously it brings you so many amazing opportunities, but it's funny because it's not something I ever thought would happen or planned on happening when I started doing Instagram. It was just for fun at the time and just sharing my bodybuilding journey. So it's awesome how it naturally progressed. And obviously I'm very, very grateful for everything that's kind of come along with it. So, yeah.
Why do you think so many women relate to you, like on a personal level? Because as I said, a lot of people asked, can you have Jade Mead on the pod? Because they relate to you. Why do you think that is?
I think I'm just myself online. Like I don't just share the highlight reel. I share the ups and the downs. I try to be as real as possible and relatable as possible. And I think I'm relatable because I'm not like perfect. You know, I'm not size 6 or, you know, tall or whatever. Like I think people relate to me more because I am a bit more of a relatable body type. I think people can relate to that because they can kind of resonate with it more, and it's not something that's really unachievable in their mind, I guess. And as I said, I don't just share, you know, the ups. I definitely share the downs, and I cry on my social media. And I think that's relatable because obviously life isn't perfect, and you know everyone goes through things. So I think that's helped, and I've always just really appreciated my following because obviously it's thanks to them that I get so many amazing opportunities and I have the life that I have. So I've always been one to talk to my followers and reply to messages and comments, and I've always found it strange when people would reply and be like, oh my God, I can't believe you've messaged me, or I can't believe you've replied. And I'm like, is that not what all people do?
It's not, no. So that's nice.
Yeah, and I actually love the following that I have online. Like I literally get a lot of the time more support from my online followers who I don't even know than people in real life, which is pretty crazy. But I have a really beautiful community of women that are just so supportive, and I love that. And I obviously try and support them as much as I can back. So yeah, it's lovely having such a nice online community, and I appreciate it a lot. So I think that's why people can relate, I guess.
Well, you're also managed by a celebrity manager, Blue Chip.
Yes.
On the East Coast.
Yeah.
But you're managed by them globally. Mm-hmm. So can you talk about what kind of brands you've worked with? And like,
yeah, so that's actually very new. So I only joined their team last year, 2023. Thank you. Yeah. So again, it's like I'd been on social media since 2014, and I'd never had any sort of management in that whole time.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were my very first one, and it was one of those things where I'd obviously looked into doing it over the years, and it was something I kind of wanted to do, but I was always scared to let go of the reins, I guess, and kind of let someone else be in control, or kind of that's what I thought in my head, and I just never wanted to do that. I always wanted it to be me that, you know, is in contact with people because I like to create relationships with brands and things like that. But it just happened naturally that they reached out to me to do a job for a brand, and then they said, like, we'd like to have you on board if you want to have an interview and this, that, and the other. And then it just happened that way. And they're an awesome team. I'm so grateful for them, and they've, since I joined them last year, it hasn't even been a year, they've done so much for me, and it's been good. And also you're still part of the process, like you still see the emails with brands, and like you're very much involved. So
that's good.
Yeah,
that's
so
rare for a manager.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I still wanted it to be me, like I still want to have that connection with the brand. So yeah, they've been awesome for me, and I've worked with lots of brands. So
hey guys, if you've loved listening to the Seriously podcast, we'd really appreciate a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify podcasts. It keeps us making incredible content for all of you to hear. Thanks so much. Let's talk about motherhood, because you are a mum to Marley and Lottie, your two beautiful girls. Yes. How old are they? And did you always want kids?
Yes, I always wanted kids.
Okay.
Marley just turned 4 on December 27th, so she's a Christmas girl. She literally just turned 4, and then Lottie is 8 months. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so she's my little bubba.
Wow.
Yeah, and I always wanted kids. I've always loved babies and always wanted kids, so that was always something I wanted. But I'm glad I waited until I was older to have children, because it does, like, as much as I love being a mum and love having kids, I have found it really hard. It's really, really stressful, and it's a massive change to your life. So I'm glad that I waited until I was at an age where I felt like I was mature enough to handle it, because even now, like, I struggle with mum life sometimes. So yeah, it's difficult, but it's obviously the most rewarding thing, you know, and I love it. But yeah, it definitely doesn't come without its challenges. So,
in what ways has motherhood changed your perspective on life?
I guess I try to be a lot more kinder to myself, because raising 2 girls, I want them to obviously be very self-confident and self-assured of themselves, and you know, so I'm very careful of what I say in front of my daughter Marley, and you know how I talk about my body and food and things like that. But yeah, I guess it just kind of makes you like not worry about certain things and realize what's important and what's not, and you obviously don't put yourself first anymore. You think about your kids and do everything for them. But yeah, it's crazy how your life changes when you become a mum.
So are you in your 30s?
Yeah, I'm 36.
36. Okay, so you had Marley.
Yeah, I was 32 when I had her.
32, and then Lottie at 35.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when did you get married to your husband?
We got married in 2013. We've been together since
Right.
2007, so a long time.
Oh, so you guys waited a long
We
time.
did wait. Yeah,
So
like I
was
said,
that
we waited.
purposely?
Yes, it was. Like it's funny, I always wanted to be a young mum. Like I always imagined myself at 25 having kids, and it's funny because like I got to that age and then I was like, absolutely not, I am not ready. And then I'd tell myself like maybe 27, and then I'd get to 27 and not be ready, and same thing when I got to 30. I don't know. I just wanted to make sure I lived my life, as much as possible first, and we wanted to do a lot of travel first, which we did. So I'm really glad we did that, because obviously now we've still travelled a heap with the kids, but it is completely different and it's not like relaxing. And it's a different type of holiday when you go with kids. But we definitely haven't let that stop us. But we wanted to travel and do things as a couple first before we had kids. And I am glad we waited, as I said, because it is a huge life change. So that would be my advice to anyone. If you're wanting kids, just make sure you're ready and get all your things off your bucket list first.
Yeah, me and my partner are in the same boat, because I'm just like, I also want to be financially like set.
Yes, that as well.
Like I think that helps. What do you think about that?
Definitely, that does help. Obviously, that's an important factor. And like I see people commenting all the time, like, should I have a third baby? And then thinking about the cost of that.
In this economy?
In this economy, yeah, it's crazy. So like,
Yeah.
I am done with 2 kids.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
no more kids?
No more babies for us. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if my mind will change in future once the kids get older, but definitely we both are agreeing at the moment that we are done with 2 girls. I only ever wanted 2 children, and he was the same. So we're happy that, and grateful for what we've got. So
Can I ask, if it's not too personal, was it natural?
yes.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
we were very lucky, thankfully.
That's amazing.
And it's funny you should say that, because I obviously was just thinking about the process and, thinking about trying to get pregnant. I think I was 29 at the time, and obviously I just knew that it was something we wanted to start planning for in the near future. And so I went to the doctors just to kind of ask for blood tests and like get everything checked, just to make sure that I was in a good position to start trying for children. But in my head, I wasn't like actually wanting to start. It was just to make sure everything was fine in the lead up to that. And yeah, this female older GP that I went to at the time literally freaked me out and was like, your clock is ticking, you're almost turning 30, you need to start trying now or you're not going to be able to fall pregnant and blah, blah, blah. And she really freaked me out. Like I literally went home thinking, I've got to start trying now. I'm not going to be able to have a baby.
I'm only
yeah,
29.
I know. And
It's
it was,
ridiculous.
it was ridiculous. And thankfully I didn't listen to her because that's just not the case. And there's so many mums now having children older, and yeah, I didn't have any issue falling pregnant, thank goodness. I'm very, very grateful for that, because I know a lot of women struggle. And I did worry that perhaps the second time with Lottie we'd struggle because we were both a bit older again. But yeah, thank goodness we were both fertile, it seems. And yeah, we were blessed with 2 beautiful girls, but we're definitely done now.
And your beautiful husband, what's his name?
Ryan.
Ryan. How did you guys meet?
We met
What's your love story?
Our love story is pretty cool. We met in Bali. So he had just moved here from England. I am from the UK as well, but I've been living in Australia since I was 5. So I'm pretty much...
You don't really have an accent.
Yeah, I'm pretty much an Aussie. Okay. But then some people meet me and think I sound English, but it's actually because of him and all his family and all the English people I'm around, as opposed to mine. But yeah, so he'd only just moved here to Perth, I think like 3 or 4 months before we met. And yeah, we had both gone to Bali with our friends. Like he was on a lad's holiday, I was on a girl's holiday. Just living it up and having fun, not obviously wanting to get in a relationship. And then, yeah, we met them on a night out. It's actually a funny story. He was at the same hotel as us, and he like saw me in the distance as me and my friend were getting out of a taxi out the front of the hotel, and he waved at me or something, and I smiled at him or something. And then we saw them that night at the Bounty Club. Good old Bounty.
You haven't been there, it's a vibe. Well, it used to be.
It's closed down now, I think.
Oh, okay, sorry. It used to be a vibe.
I think, I don't know. Yeah, we saw them that night, and he gave me the finger and was like, come over here.
I'm going to marry you.
Yeah, literally. And yeah, the rest is history. So we met them, and they realised that they were from Perth, and we're like, oh, we're from Perth. Whereabouts are you from? And it turned out that we lived 5 minutes away from each other, like literally the next suburb. So
That's so weird.
Yeah, and then, yeah, once we got back home, that was it. Went there and never left, so...
So I want to ask, you have gone viral in the media so many times because your beautiful mum has dementia.
Yes.
And your videos, when I see them, it breaks my heart because she doesn't recognise your kids every time and you see her often. That's really hard.
Yeah, it can literally be like if I went today and then I went tomorrow, it'd be the same thing. So she wouldn't remember.
So when did this all happen and how have you come to terms with it? Like,
Yeah, It happened when she was 62, so it was 2020. My daughter Marley was a baby at the time, so it was all a lot to process because I had a baby, and then obviously that happened, and that was a shock. Like, it was very unexpected. So that was a lot to come to terms with that year, and it was quite a quick thing that happened. She was in hospital for 3 months. She was very unwell, and then thankfully she got better, but some of the damage was just permanent. So unfortunately that memory is gone. She still has her long-term memory, and she can still remember England and kind of all the older things, and she obviously thankfully remembers us.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so that's where she's at the moment, but she just forgets the young children. So she forgets Marley, but when she sees Marley, she does remember her and sometimes remembers her name, but she just, every time I see her, she forgets I've had children. But then it's like she sparks her memory when she sees Marley. It's weird, but she forgets about Lottie completely every time. She's like, it's meeting Lottie for the first time every time. And my sister's daughter, who is 3, same thing. She forgets that my sister has had her, but she remembers my sister's 2 older children. So it's like she only kind of has lost the memory from recent years.
From 2020
onwards? I guess kind of, yeah. But like, I had Marley before she got sick, and she still kind of forgets about Marley. So it's a weird one to kind of figure out where her memory stops and starts. But yeah, thank God she still remembers us, but she does forget the children, which is obviously really hard because every time I go there, her reaction is exactly the same, and it's kind of like Groundhog Day. And I can't even remember what sparked me to start sharing those interactions online, because I had obviously shared with my followers what had happened with Mum and that she had dementia and things like that back from when it happened, but I hadn't kind of shared too much. And then I don't know what sparked me one day to just film the interaction. I guess I kind of just wanted to give people an insight into what it's like living with a parent who has dementia, and it being literally like Groundhog Day, because every single time I go there, it's, oh my God, Jade, I didn't know you had children. Are these your children? You know, but thankfully she's always very joyful. She's always very happy, which is something I'm very grateful for, because I know that a lot of people with dementia can be aggressive, and she may very well turn to that as it progresses and as she gets older, and that's something we're going to have to obviously deal with, but I'm hoping and praying that won't happen anytime soon. But yeah, thank God she's very, very happy and joyful and always just so excited to see them, and she's never kind of angry or confused, thank goodness. So because of that, they're always very heartwarming moments. And like, people, obviously I get hundreds and hundreds of comments of people on the videos on TikTok and Instagram that can relate, but also just saying like how lovely that she gets to experience that every time, you know, meeting her grandchildren for the first time, which is so lovely. And thankfully Marley hasn't really kind of said much about it. Like, you'd think that she would be wondering why Nanny forgets or why she's confused, but she just seems to take it in her stride. And obviously I have explained to her that, you know, Nanny forgets sometimes, but doesn't mean that she doesn't love you or that she forgets who you are. She just has something that is causing her to forget. And yeah, thankfully Marley just loves her Nanny and doesn't really know, you know, any difference. So, but yeah, it's bittersweet, because sometimes when I go to see her, if I'm not like in the right mindset, I can't really, in my head I'm like, I don't know if I can face it today, because it's like very like hard to obviously have to go there and explain the same thing every time. But I guess because I've gotten so used to it as well, it's kind of just second nature, the conversations I have with her explaining. And even like when she texts me, like, it's very rare that she'll text or call me now, I guess because of her memory. So if she does ever call or text me, it's like, and it pops up on my phone, it's like so lovely, because that's not something I see common anymore. So yeah, when she does message me, she will kind of, same thing, if I call her or if she messages me, she'll say, can you tell me where I am and why I'm here? I don't know where I am and why I'm here.
God.
Yeah. And so I'll always tell her either on the phone or I'll text her. I'll literally say, like, you're in this house with carers 24/7, you're nearby, and the reason you're there is because you have dementia and sometimes you get forgetful and confused, and the reason you're there is so they can make sure you're safe and look after you in case you know, forget where you are or wander off or whatever. And some people like have commented online saying, why would you tell her that? Like, that's very confronting and blah, blah, blah. But she always thanks me for telling her. So I feel like I'm going to do what's right for her. And yes, she always says, thank you for explaining that to me. But again, thankfully, she's always very blasé about it. Like, you would think that she'd be like, oh, that's awful to hear. But she just thanks me for telling her, and she just kind of gets on with it, thankfully. So I guess we're just lucky that it is, like, in her case, she's very placid and calm about the whole thing, and it's always very happy and joyful. So, but yeah, it doesn't mean it's not obviously difficult, but yeah, at least she's not angry or aggressive.
So up until 2020, she was healthy.
Yeah.
So that degradation happened really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Did you go through a grieving process?
Um,
Like that's like
Yeah.
losing your mum. Like
Yeah.
that's really hard.
yeah, to be honest, I don't know if I've ever fully gone through it. And I guess like people always ask me that, like, how do you accept it or how do you deal with it? And I've just had to kind of get on with it, because at the end of the day, it's like, it is what it is. This is the situation I'm in. And obviously, yes, it's not ideal. And it is hard because it's one of those things where you're kind of grieving your mum even though she's still there. So it's a really confusing one. But
Right.
yeah, because like you're grieving the mum you had, because I can't just like call her or go to her for advice or ask her to look after the kids. You know, like I don't have that normal mum relationship. But at the same time, I'm just so grateful that she's still alive and that I can still see her and talk to her and give her a hug. So I just kind of try and focus on the positives, because it could be a lot worse. Do you know what I mean? I could have lost her. So yeah, I guess that's my way of dealing with it or accepting it, is that at least she's still here and I've still got her with me, and I can still, go and see her and spend time with her, and just be grateful for the time that we still have with her, I guess, until it kind of deteriorates. So I guess that's my form of grieving it. But yeah, I've probably never fully gone through a proper grieving process. Like I've only just now started very recently going to therapy and having to offload all that. So I guess I'll be going through that process very soon. I haven't kind of gone through it properly yet. So, but yeah, I just always try and focus on the positives. And that's the main thing I say to people is focus on the positives, be grateful that she's still here and that I can still spend time with her and still technically have my mum with me, because a lot of people don't. So I just focus on the positives as much as I can. And that's what I always try and portray in the videos when people comment, like, how do you deal with this? Or, just focus on the positives. That's all you can do.
And I love how positive you are on the videos. Like you always go, you're very calm in explaining that you just forget sometimes. It's very nonchalant. That's really beautiful. And I was like, that's a perfect way to deal with it. So if people are going through the same thing, how would they deal with it? Like any advice? Or they've just found out? Like it must be super confronting.
Yeah, and that's another funny thing as well, because obviously so many people have commented things like that on the videos, saying like, my parents just been diagnosed with this and I don't know how to handle it or how to talk to them or whatnot. And people do kind of praise how I handle it, but it's just kind of what has come natural. I don't really know what is the right or wrong thing to do. I just do what feels right and what I think, is the right thing to do, and kind of just be calm and, be honest but calm with it. And I guess whatever I'm doing has kind of worked, because I've had like nurses comment that, the way you handle this is perfect. So it's nice to know that I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
But yeah, advice would be just to not treat them like an idiot or try and hide things from them. Because, some people have commented saying, why would you say that? Like, you're hurting them intentionally or blah, blah, blah. But it's like they're going to be confused either way, because I dread to think what goes through her mind and in every minute, like wondering why can't she forget what's going on and where she is and why she is. So it's like if I can just give her a little bit of, explaining at the time, even though she's going to forget, at least in that moment I'm explaining to her and making her understand why she feels that way. So I don't know, I guess, just trying to be compassionate with them as well, because obviously it's not their fault that they can't forget. And that's another thing people have commented is like, oh, you're so calm with her, I feel bad that I sometimes get angry or, I can't handle the questions and blah, blah. And I get that. Like I said, sometimes if you're not in the right mindset, it can be really draining. Because you literally have to repeat yourself, and it is like Groundhog Day. But I try to remind myself that it's not her fault. She doesn't know she's doing it. She's not being annoying on purpose. So you just have to have compassion and understanding, and just be as calm as you can, I guess.
A lot of doctors say that dementia's hereditary. Are you worried?
I try not to think about that.
Okay.
I try not to think about that, because obviously it's something I can't control.
Okay.
I try not to think about that and hope for the best. And it's not always the case. So, fingers crossed that doesn't happen to me, because it's an awful disease. But, there's nothing I can do to control it, unfortunately.
So do Ryan's parents, are they in Australia?
Yes.
So do they help with the kids and like they have a good relationship?
Yeah, we're very, very lucky to have them, because they're really the two main people that help with Marley and Lottie, is Ryan's mum and his dad. So I'm very, very grateful for them. Like obviously Marley still loves my mum and she's still her nanny, but obviously my mum can't help. So very, very grateful to have them helping.
Thank you for sharing and being so open and honest. I really appreciate it. And I think you're going to help a lot of people.
I hope so.
Yeah, you definitely will. You've done so much, Jade, and you've been such a positive influence for so many women. But can I ask, do you have anything that's next for you on the cards? Like anything that you can reveal for 2024? Any plans? Or
Nothing major. I mean, to be honest, 2023 was a really, really difficult year for me. I know it was for a lot of people, and obviously it was the year that Lottie was born, and she's the best thing, one of the best things obviously happened, and she's freaking amazing, and I love it a bit. But just 2023 in general was really difficult, adapting to life with two. It's such an adjustment, and just other things as well. It was just a hard year. I know it was for a lot of people because of the current way we're living. But yeah, so 2023 wasn't my best year, so I'm just hoping that 2024 is going to be more positive. I did obviously take a bit of a step back with work because I had a baby to look after and give birth to on the side of the road. So I just want to focus a bit more on getting back into a bit more work and just a bit more positive mindset and working on myself and also my health and fitness, because I did let that slide as well last year. So just a positive year is what I'm hoping for, a positive year of progress and good things happening for me and everyone.
Okay, just quickly, you just mentioned you had a baby on the side of the road and that went viral too in the media. You just are one of these people that goes viral all the time?
Well, they're the main two things that went viral last year. Was
just casually.
Just
Can you quickly step us through that?
Oh God. So I was in labour and I was planning to have a water birth, which is the same.
Oh, beautiful.
So I had a water birth with Marley and loved the experience, and so that was my birth plan for baby number 2, was another water birth, but that was at the Family Birth Centre at King Edward, which is in Subiaco, and that's like half an hour away or 25 minutes drive for us, so it's not like your local hospital. And the rules with the birth centre is you can't go there until you're in active labour, otherwise they'll send you home, so you can't go there too early. So I was labouring all day at home, and thankfully Marley was at daycare. And it's just a very different experience to my labour with Marley. My labour with Marley just was a shock. It was very quick. I didn't know what was happening, and it all just happened very quickly. But thankfully that time we just got to the birth centre in time, and I had the water birth. But this time it was like a really long labour to start with. So I think I just assumed it was going to be a much longer process than what I'd experienced with Marley. And then Marley came home from daycare, and that was when it all ramped up, and it was all just kind of happening very quickly. Ryan and his mum were trying to get Marley ready for bed while we were trying to get ready to go to the birth centre. And it's so stupid looking back, but in my head I was like, we just need to get Marley to bed and then we'll go. And that was my downfall, was waiting for Marley to go to bed, because then as that was happening, I was labouring in the bedroom and the transition started happening, and it just was too late. And so by the time we got in the car and started driving to the birth centre, my body just started pushing, so I couldn't control it. I couldn't stop it. Yeah.
I guess you can't control when a baby's coming out of you.
No, you literally can't. It's an amazing experience, but it's also a crazy experience because you cannot stop it. Your body pushes and you have to go with it. I know that's not the same for everyone, because obviously everyone's labour is different. And I've been told that it's called fetal ejection something. It's like a thing.
She didn't want to wait.
Yeah, she did not want to wait.
I'm coming.
So we were literally driving on the freeway, on the phone to the midwife, on the phone to the ambulance.
Was Ryan stressing his head off?
Yeah. Obviously thank
thing.
God it wasn't the first birth. Thank God he'd been through birth with me the first time, but obviously he wasn't the one to deliver the baby. But he obviously knew a bit what to expect. But yes, he was on the phone to the midwife first, and I'm in the passenger seat literally screaming, because you can't control it. I'm literally screaming, going,
so much pain.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pushing. And I could feel the baby coming, and I can't control it. So the midwife was like, you're going to have to pull over. You're not going to make it. And so my husband pulled off the freeway. And then I obviously started panicking, because I'm like, I don't want to give birth on the side of the road. So I was like, keep going, keep going. So then he went to get back onto the freeway. And then obviously then she can hear me continuing to roar and push. And she said, you're not going to make it. You must pull over and you must call the ambulance.
Ryan, sharp left.
So it was literally pulled a sharp left. There was roadworks, you had to cut through all these cones on the freeway. And he ended up pulling over in Osborne Park in the industrial area.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
At least it's a bit of a nice suburb.
Yeah, and he literally just made it, pulled over, came around to the passenger seat, thankfully just had time to put Dales down, and then out she came and he caught her. So it was super quick. She was out in 4 pushes. So
what about the umbilical cord?
So that she stayed attached to me, and then an ambulance came, and then, she was attached to me for 40 minutes or something while we got to the birth centre, and then they cut the cord and we...
Holy...
Yeah.
Holy
It was
moly.
a crazy experience.
Just so he literally caught your daughter.
He caught her, he delivered her, yeah. So he now has said that he can add midwife to his resume. He's
He can.
very proud of that. It's like probably his proudest moment ever. So
That is, I would be so proud if I delivered a baby. That's
yeah,
incredible.
It was, like it was a crazy experience. It's funny because a lot of people have said like, was that traumatic for you? Like that must have been a traumatic experience. And in my head and in his head, it wasn't. Like
sounds kind of like
it was pretty epic.
bonding.
Yeah, it was a
that's
pretty cool experience to go through. Not something you go through every day. So yeah, so that was on the news. But yeah, it was an awesome experience. And I think because I was fine, she was fine. There was no like complications or issues or concerns.
Yeah.
It wasn't a scary experience. So
How long were you in hospital after that?
oh, we went home that night. Yeah.
Do you reckon it's because you're really fit? Do you reckon that's why you pushed her out so quick?
I wouldn't say I'm that fit.
But do you reckon you has it got anything to do with your abs? Like pushing
well,
it out?
I was definitely, I exercised right up until I had her, and I was doing a lot of birth prep exercises like stretches and things that are supposed to help with labour. So in hindsight, I guess that maybe helped. So
Yeah, right.
yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Seriously, like as I said, you were a really like number one guest to get on. So
I appreciate
really
that.
Appreciate it.
That's definitely an honour. So thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. One more thing I want to ask quickly: if anyone wants to get into fitness influencing or be in the industry, how would you start?
Literally just put yourself out there, start posting, start creating content. And the main thing I can do is, say is just be yourself, because it's so easy to like compare yourself to others or like want to kind of go where someone else has gone or do what they're doing, and then you kind of try and copy that. And it never comes across as genuine if you're not yourself. So the best thing you can do is be yourself, but also just, put yourself out there, create content, post as much as you can. Like it can be really hard to grow on social media these days, but then some people just kind of go viral and it goes crazy. So
Like you.
it just, mine didn't go crazy, I wouldn't say, but just be yourself is the main thing I can say. Be yourself and put yourself out there and be confident and
Where can people find you?
So Instagram is my main kind of socials that I post on, which is at Jade Mead 1.
Yep.
But I'm also on TikTok, which is at Jade Mead 01.
Yep.
And then also my website is jademead.com, which is where I offer all my online fitness coaching services. So
If you need a meal plan, if you need
hit me up.
anything fitness
Yes.
related.
As I said, my goal this year is to help more women, and it's something I'm really passionate about, and I love helping women feel better about themselves. So if it's something that you need help with, please feel free to reach out, and I would love to help you.
I feel like I need a plan. I'm not the healthiest.
I can do
person.
you a plan.
I would actually love that. Anyway, thanks for coming on Seriously.
Thank you so
Jade.
much
You've
for
been
having
amazing.
me. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in for this amazing interview. We'll see you next week for another guest. Bye.